Köszönöm.
Well, thank you. Esteemed Vice President, esteemed American friends, esteemed celebrating crowd, I would like to warmly and respectfully greet the Vice President of the United States of America. Welcome to Budapest, Mr. Vice President. I thank you all for accepting our invitation and for celebrating together with us the Day of Hungarian-American Friendship. There is a saying in Hungary which goes like this: a man is best characterized by his friends. We are very happy and we are very grateful to the divine powers that be that we have such an important man as our friend. And the eagle has landed in Hungary, as they say, and the ancient Hungarian bird, the turul bird, welcomes the eagle here in Hungary. I think we have not ever had in our history such a joint day. This is not a simple diplomatic event. This is a meeting point, if you wish, of the struggles and the hopes of the two peoples, the golden era of Hungarian-American relations, and the political and business outcome of this relationship is not a cause, but is a consequence. The basis of Hungarian-American friendship is civilizational and is spiritual in nature. Two freedom-loving people meet here today. Who would love their freedom better, more than the Americans? The United States of America is a country born in a freedom fight. They're fighting a globalist empire to be free. They built themselves a huge country. They needed only, 250 years to build this country. So may the United States of America be happy and celebrate on their 250th anniversary. And who would love freedom more than Hungarians? There is no other nation in Europe which has had more empires that wanted to occupy them than the Hungarians. Every time someone wanted to oppress us, we stood up with the sword, with bloodshed, sometimes with enduring work, but we fought against every oppressing empire. We didn't win every freedom fight of ours. Our 1,100 years of history is testament to the fact that our struggle was never in vain. The conquerors are no longer there, and we prevail. We are still here. We're still alive. We are alive, we are prospering, and everything is given to make us the winners of the next century. And we believe that this is going to be the century of Hungarians. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the distance between America and Hungary is huge. It's an ocean that separates us. And despite this, the freedom struggles of the two nations bind us together. In the American War of Independence, Mihai Kovács was a hussar officer who organized the cavalry of the Continental Army. Lajos Kossuth was celebrated in America. After World War I, our country was occupied by looting countries. Harry Hill Benthold, American general, defended the Hungarian National Museum and thereby made it possible for us to keep our treasures and for the treasures to be not stolen. The general statue is still there at Freedom Square in Hungary. And we also respect Ronald Reagan as a hero, because he decided that he's going to win the Cold War and that he's going to liberate the peoples of Europe from the Soviet occupation. And not only did he decide, but he launched this effort, and he allowed us to return to the freedom-loving peoples. Praise be to Ronald Reagan. Esteemed Mr. Vice President, Bartók, Teller, Neumann, Kertész, Cukor, Pulitzer, and all the others are people who desired freedom, so they found a home in the new world. They became successful in your country and brought fame to their new and their old country alike. And I personally also remember quite well the decisive role of President Bush in allowing us to end communism and to send home the Soviet soldiers. In 1989, he not only visited Budapest, but he also made it a condition that the reburial of the victims of 1956 had to be organized, and that led us to the reinstatement of democracy and freedom in Hungary. We thank him for that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Americans and Hungarians, their friendship has endured even in those difficult years when American Democrats wanted to turn the 1,000-year-old Christian Hungary into a leftist progressive country. However, one cannot fight the laws of physics. Freedom-loving people cannot be converted and to liberalist ideologies. The same thing will happen always. We will still be here and they are nowhere. And the Hungarian-American friendship is shining again in its old glory. Distinguished Hungarian and American patriots, we are grateful to President Donald Trump for this pivot. He was the one who ended the power of globalist forces driven by ideologies and announced the era of strong nations. He was the one who turned on the power of the progressive elite, who called all the patriots of the world to arms by saying it is not a sin to be patriotic, it's a virtue. The president has shown that patriotic policy is also successful, can be successful government practice. During his presidency, America has again placed its own interest in the first place and has given back the honor of national politics. His economic patriotism has protected jobs, brought industry back home, and has proven that globalization is not an end in itself. He ended illegal migration. He dusted off the old act. Without borders, there is no country. Without sovereignty, there is no freedom. We have every right and every reason to send our best heartfelt wishes to the American president and wish him a lot of success. The success of President Trump also is sending a message to Europe that national interest will not isolate but will reinforce. A nation has shared objectives: to be strong, to be independent, to remain free. We will not allow others to decide on our fate. We will implement our own plans. Our government has been waiting for this moment since 2010, and it was excruciatingly difficult to fight the Brussels and Washingtonian progressives. Your victory, Mr. Vice President, was almost like a resuscitation, and we actually seized the opportunity. While Europe was still reeling from the result, we already placed down the basics, the foundations of our cooperation. In politics, you not only need to be courageous, but you also need to be good in timing. And one needs to also know how to be hurt. You don't have to be hurt when you have a reason, but you have to be hurt when it's worth. We are visa-free to travel to America. We are cooperating in economy, in defense, in high-tech, in innovation. We have launched joint programs in energy. And it's so simple. Two sovereign nations are thinking and working together to make this a world a better place for our people, and the basis for this is provided by our love for freedom. My dear friends, beside the president, there is also somebody without whom we could not be standing here today. This man is actually and soon going to be standing here next to me. It is indeed Vice President Vance. In his person, we have secured a very special friend. It is difficult to understand us Hungarians. It is not only about knowledge, you also need patience with us Hungarians, because we are an ancient nation, and similarly to Americans, we also consider ourselves to be exceptional. There's a lot of things we know, and we have huge loads of experience. We consider it only natural that everybody should understand what is evident to us. Therefore, we don't pay too much attention to actually making others understand us. If they don't understand us, all the worse for them. Furthermore, we also insist on our mistakes. We are insistent that it is easy to make friendship with perfect people. If we are not good for somebody the way we are, well, it's their loss. So it is not easy to be friends with us Hungarians. But Vice President Vance is actually doing quite well, because he understands the old Christian prayer, don't look at our sins, look at the fate of the church. And this is especially true for us Hungarians. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Vice President Vance already wrote how progressive liberalism is turning its back on the problems of simple people when it was not PC to talk about it. He wrote his book that even if there is this false social sensitivity, in the end, the left will always attack its own nation. And we know that. We've been there. We've done that. But there's also a liberating political thesis that we know from him. He once came to Europe, and as one of the Westerners among the Europeans, he said the following: Europe is facing dangers from within. Europe is not going to be defeated by an external enemy, but by an internal one. And with this, he wrote history. He liberated in Europe the intellectual and political forces that were wearing and suffering from the muzzle of political correctness. So viva, viva, viva.
And he is in possession of fearful knowledge, or rather a life instinct. From a great distance, he notices if foreigners, aliens, want to intervene into elections, and that is why he leads the commission investigating into these interventions, because interventions are made here and elsewhere. We have seen that in the United States. We pay attention too, and if we add up what we have seen, then that might not be a nice image on the Ukrainians. Mr. Vice President couldn't have come to the better place, and I recommend everyone keep their hands off Hungary. Dear friends, the other idea of Mr. Vice President is that progressive notions hogtie people. They hold back performance. They attack the values that once made our nations great. He started organizing the intellectual homeland background, which is capable to place the renewal of the United States on a stable foundation. That is how we Hungarians entered the picture. We ourselves also fought with our progressive liberals who held back the performance of Hungarians. Our solutions are also similar: God's family, homeland, and of course work, labor. This is the foundation of our friendship. Mr. Vice President, therefore it is dignified and justified that we can celebrate the Day of Hungarian-American Friendship in your presence. My friends, for the Americans and Hungarians who are worried about the future of Western civilization, they share a problem in common, and that problem is called Brussels. The progressive forces of the Western world have lost two important battles. First, they lost in Hungary, which opened the way for the other Central European countries. Then they received a massive blow. They lost overseas thanks to President Trump, Vice President Vance, the Republican Party, and the American people. They have drawn back from there. They have drawn back from there, and they have established themselves in Brussels. They have received countless blows, yet their power remains fearful. They are capable of preventing Europe from returning to the path of common sense and traditional values. Progressive ideologies keep the originally Christian foundation, European Union, tied up. Brussels calls for gender ideology, woke, and migration, and they wish to make that the organizing force of Europe. They are persecuting their political opponents. They use the institutions of the European Union to silence everyone who endangers their power. There are ridiculous and openly unlawful procedures against the patriots. There are persecutions by intelligence services, and there's impotent governance. The continent slowly but surely will get crippled. Still, they want to continue the war in Ukraine. They say that they will support the Ukrainians till the very end. They don't even make a secret of it. Their dream is to send their own young to the Eastern Front under the flags of the European Union. Now, when the energy supply of the world is about to collapse, instead of peace, they introduce new and new sanctions. This is more than just being irresponsible. It is equal to suicide. If this continues, first, the energy prices will skyrocket, and after that, the European reserves will be depleted. When the Ukrainians blew up the Nordic stream, they shut a blind eye. And now that the Ukrainians have imposed an oil blockade on Hungary, Brussels does not represent us, but is in favor of the Ukrainians. And we should have no doubt they wish to make the attempted attack against the Turkic stream as ridiculous. We are being sanctioned because alone in Europe, we pointed out the self-destructive policies of Europe and the games played by the Ukrainians. We suffer €1 million a day in sanctions and penalties because we protect our borders. There are procedures against us for protecting our children from gender ideology. We are under daily attack because we follow the rules of common sense in economy and commerce. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the years ahead of us will not be easy. Europe is threatened in parallel by a financial and energy crisis. If Europe does not change, they will be losers of both crises. And no matter what a wonderful heritage we have, the Western world will tumble down in history, and therefore we freedom-loving Americans and Hungarians have to join forces. We must save Western civilization, and for that we must fight the progressives in Brussels. We must close the Russian-Ukrainian world, and we must resolve the energy crisis. Fellow Hungarian countrymen, we Hungarians for that must perform a task that no one else can do instead of us. On Sunday there will be elections in Hungary, and these elections are not only about us. At these elections, it is a future and a fate, a destiny that we choose for ourselves. This election is about what path we wish to continue on. One path leads to a world where we lose our independence, where we are torn from our friends, and where eventually we shall become insignificant, where they would order us to take up arms, send soldiers to the war, and send money to Ukraine. But there is another path. The other path is the path of freedom, the path of a world where we can stand up as a pride nation in our place set out in destiny, where we can build the 21st century Hungary successfully and freely, where we can do whatever we want to provide support for families, freedom for Hungarians, and peace for Hungary. And for that reason, from here, I ask you, I implore you that we stand up for freedom, we stand up for our nation, we stand up for our future, we stand up for the peace and security of Hungary, because if we do not do so, no one will do that instead of us. But if we do it, and if we prevail, then, my friends, we shall be capable of wonderful things. It shall be from here, Hungary, that the reconquista of Europe will start, which will put in power new patriotic governments, and the power will be established, which after Washington, D.C. will change Brussels, and from the headquarters of the progressives will turn it into a bastion of patriots. God bless Hungary. God bless the United States.
You know what people don't like. What people don't understand is about these preemptive tasks that we have to um, get in place. First of all, welcome back everybody to the Dennis Herrera Show, and I want to start off with catching up to my live streams. This is from yesterday. Vice President J.D. Vance will come up next and finish the speech. A lot of people believe on insurance, right? For life insurance, car insurance, health insurance. Heck, some people don't believe on any type of insurance, right? In case something bad happens. I see that everything that we're doing, it's towards reaching that goal. It's towards, not waiting for disaster to strike. We can't sit here with our arms crossed, and think that terrorists are just going to give up being evil. That we're just going to sit here and cross our arms and think that evil people are just going to change their mind about being evil and they're just going to come and attack us anyway. We can't. We talk a lot about budget. We talk about money, talk about $1.5 trillion more for our military, for this country's security. I agree with that. If we don't have security, forget about building your factory here. Forget about securing jobs. Forget about being able to strive and becoming wealthy, or even just have a means to survive and have a freedom life. If we don't fight, and if we don't plan to prevent other countries from taking over, we are doomed. And, we've seen a lot of people on the left and some on the right. We get all these fear-mongering polls that we're going to lose this and we're going to lose that. But at the end of the day, God has control of everything. And we are going to, we're going to have to just wait to see what happens. But let's hope for the best.
Thank you. Please. So before I started my remarks, I actually had a special guest that asked that I give him a phone call, and we'll see. Let's hope he actually answers. This is going to be very embarrassing. All right.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Okay. Try one more time. I get a good signal here. It's ringing. It's progress. Hello, Mr. President. How are you?
Hi. Hey, JD, could you give me a second? I'm just... Wow, that's some... What do you have there, JD?
Mr. President, you are on with about 5,000 Hungarian patriots, and I think they love you even more than they love Viktor Orban.
Well, I can't believe that. Because I love Hungary and I love that Victor. I'll tell you, he's a fantastic man. We've had a tremendous relationship, and he does a job. Remember this, he didn't allow people to storm your country and invade your country like other people have and ruin their countries, frankly. He's kept your country good. He's kept Hungarian people in your country. And he's done a fantastic job. And let me tell you, I like him a lot, but if I didn't think he did a good job, I wouldn't be making a call like this. But boy, that sounds like a big crowd, and that sounds like my kind of people. What a crowd. JD must have made a very good speech to get this kind of a response. I guess. How did JD do? Did he give a good speech, everybody?
It's very early, sir.
It's early. Okay, Well, I just want to tell you, I'm a big fan of Victor. I'm with him all the way. The United States is with him all the way. And it's a real honor to talk to you. You're really incredible people with great enthusiasm and brilliance, because you're brilliant people. And I really love it. You have a man that kept your country strong, and he kept your country good, and you don't have problems with all of the problems that so many other countries have because they let their countries be invaded. And you don't have that problem because of Viktor Orban. That's the only reason you don't have that problem. There was a lot of pressure on him to do it, and those other countries made big mistakes. So I wish you a lot of luck, and I love you all.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's obviously a tough act to follow, but I'm going to do my best because we have got to get Viktor Orban reelected as Prime Minister of Hungary, don't we? Now, this is actually my second trip to Budapest, but the first as a public official. Then I was younger and less gray, and my wife, our beautiful second lady, was pregnant with our second child. Now, we're back in Budapest. I'm the vice president, and she's pregnant with our fourth. And during our official meeting with the Prime Minister, I asked him today whether we could benefit from some of those generous family subsidies. But he said, unfortunately, Mr. Vice President, they're only for Hungarians. Now, we have had a whirlwind of a trip already, but I find myself thinking the same things on this visit that I did during our brief vacation here as a private citizen a few years ago. Budapest is a beautiful place. It was built by people, your ancestors, who used its beautiful architecture and landscape to lift up the human spirit. And it's an honor to visit as relations between America and Hungary have reached new heights. An exciting era of new ties on everything ranging from energy security to business and trade cooperation to closer cultural bonds. So I want to say, my friends, thank you. Thank you for hosting me, and thank you for being a great friend of the United States of America. This evening, I wish to address every man and woman in Hungary, young and old, citizens of every region, of every age, and of every background. I want to speak to the mothers and fathers of Hungary, to the grandparents who recall the dark days of communism and those first lights of freedom, to the hardworking families who strive to give their children happy and healthy lives, to the young men and young women who seek to start families and careers themselves, and to everyone in this audience specifically, the young, bright, patriotic Hungarians who care passionately about this strong nation and its future. I am here for a simple reason, because I admire what you are fighting for. You're fighting for your freedom, you're fighting for your sovereignty, and I am here because President Trump and I wish for your success, and we are fighting right here with you. We want no more and we ask no more than to be allies against those who seek to push Hungary down. And you have drawn the attention of the American people, really people all across the world, because Hungary has been on the front lines of such foes. In 2016, when the rest of Europe threw open its gates, you said no. When strange activists came to tell you to erase your heritage, you said no. And when a war erupted in your neighborhood, you were kind and generous. You opened your neighborhoods, your homes, and your hospitals. But you never forgot the needs of your own people and why to Hungary, Hungarians must always come first. And for all these reasons, the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, and the American people, we admire you. And we want you to make a decision about your future with no outside forces pressuring you or telling you what to do. I'm not telling you exactly who to vote for. But what I am telling you is that the bureaucrats in Brussels, those people should not be listened to. Listen to your hearts. Listen to your souls, and listen to the sovereignty of the Hungarian people. Unlike some of the leadership of Brussels, I'm not threatening you or telling you that we're going to withhold funds to which you're legally entitled. You will make the decision about Hungary's future, just as my fellow Americans will make the decision about America's future. So I come here not in the spirit of telling you what to do. I come here in the spirit of friendship to offer a few observations about our shared civilization and how we can advance it together. You have advanced that civilization boldly in recent years, and you have done so with Viktor Orban at the helm of a proud Hungarian nation. But boldness, we know this, boldness attracts naysayers. And that is something I want to talk about for a bit. A shared threat from within that both of our nations face. I speak, of course, of a far-left ideology given quarter in university circles, in the media, and in our entertainment industry, and increasingly among bureaucrats on both sides of the Atlantic. Now, its followers don't see Western society as flawed, yet worthy of reform. Instead, they view the very foundations of our shared civilization as illegitimate. In Western history, they don't see a proud tradition, they see only injustice. In our borders, they see exclusion and racism. In Christianity, they see not liberation, but oppression. And in the family, they see constraint. Their most radical members, of course, tear down monuments to our national heroes or throw buckets of fake blood on precious artworks in museums. They stage assassinations of law enforcement officers. They set fire to churches. They declare they're never going to have kids lest they increase their carbon footprint. But we, of course, we see something different, my friends. We defend our borders because we know that it's the most vulnerable among us who suffer when our streets are given over to chaos and violence. Some of them call themselves feminists, pretending they care about women. Yet it is their policies that have seen an explosion of migrant crime and sexual assault against the very women they claim to protect. We believe in energy security because we don't want the least of us to be unable to afford to heat their homes or to drive themselves to work. They say They care a lot about corruption. They take it very seriously. But they turn a blind eye to the corruption of Brussels, which has seen bureaucrats become millionaires by threatening and cajoling the sovereignty of the people across this beautiful continent. Now, you all know this, much has been made about our administration. The European press asks constantly, do Trump and Vance, do they have something against Europe? Let me be clear, we love Europe. We love it. How can we not? We were birthed from this continent, the United States of America. We love its people. We love its culture, we love its beautiful architecture, and we love the amazing history of this continent. But because we love this culture and these peoples, we reject the faceless bureaucrats who would drive your energy costs through the roof and open your country to millions of unvetted foreigners in the name of progress. And in Hungary, I actually see real progress under a man named Viktor Orban. I see a trading partner who will bring in record investment from the United States of America. We've invested more in Hungary than we ever have in our history. I see clean streets where people of different faiths and tourists of all nationalities can enjoy a drink or a nice walk in safety and security. I see a government that invests in its own people, in promoting families, creating good jobs, and building an education system that teaches love of country rather than hatred of civilization. And most of all, my friends, because I'm the Vice President of the United States, I see what the bureaucrats hide from many of you. Energy costs are higher in almost every country in Europe than they are in Hungary. That's because Viktor Orban has fought for energy security while most European political leaders have not. I see the way those same leaders sneer at the normal, God-fearing people of Hungary. I see how they call the people of Hungary and America backwards for wanting cheap electricity bills. I see the way they look down on peacemakers like Viktor, a man who has done more than any leader in Europe to bring about a successful resolution to the war between Russia and Ukraine. I see the way they look down at, they scoff at European and American peoples who want job security and control of migration. And most of all, I see that those who hate Europe the most, who hate its borders, its energy independence, the people who hate its Christian heritage, they hate one man above all others, and his name is Viktor Orban. And if they hate him, it means he's on your side. And to them, I'm going to say the reason you hate Viktor is because he is for the people of Hungary. And I stand here today because President Trump and I stand with Europe. We stand for sovereignty. We stand for Hungary. And we stand shoulder to shoulder with the man who has done more to defend those values than anyone else, Viktor Orban. You know, the leaders of this country, perhaps more so than any other across Europe, understand that Western civilization, so despised by the left, it's not something that's self-sustaining. We can't sit on our hands and expect that everything is going to be fine. Our civilization, we've got to work at it. We've got to renew it. We've got to defend it. The people in this room understand that sovereignty and national identity are not problems. They are a necessary part of the solution. And when one country protects its sovereignty, even a country of 10 million people in the heart of Europe, it raises uncomfortable questions for those who insist there is no alternative. There is an alternative, and it's right here in Hungary. Think about this. If Hungary can secure its own borders, others can do the same thing. And if they do not, if they fail to control migration, that is by choice. If Hungary can place its own workers first, there's no reason that its neighbors can't do the same. And when they do not, that too is a choice. Victor and this entire political leadership, they become a target of the bureaucrats because he shows that real sovereignty is possible. He shows you can be pro-Europe. You can be pro-America, and you can be pro your own people, and he's showing it in spades. And you all know this, but we're not just protecting our own people, the citizens of our respective countries. We're protecting the ideas that allowed those people to flourish for hundreds and sometimes thousands of years. We just celebrated Easter, of course, all of us. And for 2,000 years, our civilization has been shaped above all and beyond all by the sacrificial love of Jesus Christ. Built upon the laws of Moses and the laws of Rome, and that society has produced not oppression, but the most free, tolerant, and prosperous societies in the history of humanity. Concepts like God-given natural rights, a sense of duty to one's neighbors, an obligation to protect the weak and the vulnerable, a belief in free will and individual conscience. No set of ideas has brought mankind closer to universal human dignity and flourishing. From those principles that founded our civilization, everything else flows. The way we pray, the way we form and raise our families, our sense of law and order, and the way we dispense justice. These are truths rooted in Scripture, but let's be honest, not every society shares them. Because our civilization, while I believe it's universally true, it has not been universally adopted. It is not the default state of human existence. The greatness of London or Munich or a picturesque village on Lake Balaton, it's easier to take for granted when it's the world you already live in. But that world didn't spring from nowhere. It had to be built. Every brick of that beautiful Parliament building here, every span of bridge across the Danube, every law, every custom, all belong to work of generations built over time. But what's been built over generations can be undone in a single lifespan. That means that what our ancestors built, we're proud of it, and we love them, we must protect. I think this audience, this group of people, uniquely understands the stakes. Because the story of Hungary, I saw this when I was here a few years ago, I've seen it again today, is of a people who have repeatedly prevailed over those who would erase their sovereignty. And in that process, those people tried to erase what makes Hungary so special to begin with. Now, most recently, of course, that came in the form of communism, a lie that took the noble pursuit of equality and claimed it could be enforced by gunpoint. That's no coincidence, and you all know this better than I do, that once in power, the communists in Hungary set about dismantling every institution that gave this great nation its character. They shuttered churches, they rewrote history, they framed 1848 not as a national revolution, but as a mere prelude to a Marxist struggle. And they didn't do it all at once. They did it piece by piece. What they themselves called slicing the salami, removing one by one the institutions that anchored Hungarian life. But ultimately, thanks be to God, the spirit of King St. Stephen prevailed in this nation. And today, what I'm asking is very simple. I want us all to renew that spirit together. For again, we see sovereignty challenged in Hungary. Again, we see faceless bureaucrats in faraway countries telling you how to live, how to pray, how to speak, and how to govern yourselves. But you have a choice. Do you bend the knee to tyranny, or do you proudly stand with St. Stephen and choose a real leader this weekend?
And the crowd is chanting encore.
We're talking about a leader who feels real pride in this place, in its history, in its culture, and in its way of life. A leader who will fight to preserve those things while also building a better future. Because the real divide in our time it's much more fundamental than partisan labels or specific policies. It's fundamentally between those who believe in the future and those who do not. Across the West, we've got a small band of radicals, people who do not believe in the future and are often the very people who so wish to govern us. It's kind of weird. If they don't believe in the future, why do they want a life in politics? Yet they speak not of renewal for our nations, but management. They're not trying to build a great future, they're trying to manage the decline of the greatest civilization in the world. Some of them say things like, human beings are no more than pollution upon the earth. They look at our cultures and our borders, they look at the very idea of a nation and ask how we can get rid of them. Every position, I believe, flows from this fundamental error. They reject mothers and motherhood, fathers and fatherhood in the name of liberation. They condemn children to mutilization and sterilization in the name of gender care. And they practice institutional murder in the name of, quote, end of life planning. And if you dare speak up about it, they will fight using the modern tools of social media to silence you through censorship. We understand that we have a sacred duty to protect life, to defend the value of our people's hard work, to invest in our workers, our families, and our industry. And to make it easier to build a life that is affordable for all of our citizens. We are committed to our future because we are committed to the very idea of our people. We're committed to the idea of life itself because it is a gift from God and we never forget it. Now that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. That's why President Trump sent me to stand here with Victor today, something I'm very proud to do. because I believe our nations are incredibly capable of greatness when we come together. Our work is not zero-sum. Indeed, it cannot be, because our goal is always to build a better life for our people. These bureaucrats, they've given us a false choice. Think about this. They tell us that the options are between isolation and globalist integration. They have framed their project as the inevitable future, even as their very institutions stagnate and crumble. But we know there's a better way. Cooperation between countries with shared values and parallel destinies. That is the story of Hungary and America, and we're going to keep fighting for it. A lot of you may not know this, but this is the story of a much longer Hungarian-American friendship. When my own country sought its independence 250 years ago, almost to the month, it was a Hungarian soldier by the name of Michael Kovács who helped found the first American cavalry units, ultimately giving his life in our struggle for independence against the British Empire. A generation later, Americans welcomed Louis Kossuth, the hero of 1848 and the father of Hungarian democracy. Now, Kossuth was greeted in the United States like a rock star, much better than a politician. His arrival in the more general cause of Hungarian independence, it captured the imagination of our young nation. He received the distinction, the second foreigner ever in our nation's history after Lafayette, to address a joint meeting of Congress. And his bust stands in the United States Capitol to this very day. Now, during that trip, I didn't realize this until a few days ago, that during that trip to the United States, Kossuth visited my home state of Ohio to make his case for Hungarian independence. We have some Ohio fans over here, that's good. Before the state legislature in Columbus, Ohio, he declared, quote, "The spirit of our age is democracy. All for the people and all by the people. Nothing about the people without the people. My nation." He went on, "My nation will rise, called to resurrection by the eternal principles of the law of nature and of nature's God." Even then, this great Hungarian patriot was aware of the intimate link between sovereignty, between self-government, and between our divine creator. And I'm proud to say that according to the history books, the part of the country that gave him the proudest reception and the biggest reception during his entire time in America was my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. You have to imagine this, and you tell these stories and you think, how can the bureaucrats think that we're not capable of self-government and choosing our own destiny? Because when Kossuth came to Cincinnati during his tour of Ohio, there were railroad tracks lined with citizens, delighted to behold Hungary's great freedom fighter. Reportedly, 100,000 of them showed up just at his one stop in my hometown. And the affection, I gotta say, I'm a little biased here, the affection was mutual. The people of Cincinnati, Kossuth said, quote, "changed a wilderness of primitive forests into an immense city, of which there exists a prediction that by the year of our Lord 2000, it will be the greatest city in the world." And no offense to Budapest, but I think he's right about that. But it tells you something very real, that when Kossuth looked at the United States of America, he didn't see something radically different. He saw something familiar. In our nation, he recognized the same forces at work that were shaping Hungary. People building something of their own, out of wilderness, with purpose, conviction, and a deep belief in where they came from and what they were called to do. And standing in Cincinnati, he saw something in America that he believed was just the beginning. The West, he exclaimed. There you can see the cradle of a newborn humanity. It was true then, and it's still true today. But America, like Hungary, was not a place just of rest. It was built around the idea of creating and renewing. And those early Americans, like the heroes of your own nation, took that inheritance and they shaped it into their own. They added to it. They fortified it. They passed it down to their children and to their grandchildren, who then did the same, with the expectation that generations later, those grandchildren would carry it forward. On his fateful trip to America, Kossuth announced that Hungary was to become, and this is perhaps my favorite quote, the cornerstone of national independence on the European continent. This guy was a prophet. Kossuth called this the cornerstone of independence, the cornerstone of sovereignty on the European continent. And though he didn't live to see it become so, I declare that prophecy is true today in 2026. Now, under Viktor Orban's leadership, you have held on to the civilizational goods that make a country worth living in the first place. Sovereignty, prosperity, history, a sense of national community, the redemptive nature of bringing new life and new families into the world. This is an awesome and difficult responsibility, because across much of the West, there's a growing uncertainty about whether these things matter or whether they're worth fighting for. But not here. You have stood up to the bureaucrats. You have stood up to the nihilists. And now I wonder, will you do it again? Will you stand against the bureaucrats in Brussels? Will you stand for sovereignty and democracy? Will you stand for Western civilization? Will you stand for freedom, for truth, and for the God of our fathers? Then, my friends, go to the polls in the weekend, stand with Viktor Orban, because he stands for you and he stands for all these things. God bless Hungary and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Amen. Amen to that. President Trump and the Prime Minister right there. Boom. He's got to get elected again. He has to be. He has to be the leader. Good man, good man. The failing New York Times and fake news CNN each reported a totally fake 10-point plan on the Iran negotiations, which was meant to discredit the people involved in the peace process. All 10 points were a made-up hoax. Evil losers. Make America great. This is one of the things that I have been telling you, Keon, and everybody else over there on the left that don't like us. You guys say everything Trump says is a lie. Okay, you know, take what he says with a grain of salt. You don't have to believe him. I get it. But what I don't get is that you are so willing to believe a terrorist liar. They have been playing AI videos left and right. They've shown videos that they have captured the whole Delta team. That is ridiculous. You know, CNN is discrediting themselves even more and more. Like, they can have some stuff in there that might be okay, but then they go and they just listen. Listen. If you do this, if you do what I do, if you do what I do, I can tell you this. If I lie, if I choose the path of the lies and just believing everything that people put out there, I will have a lot more viewers. I would have so much more success. But there is something ethical about what we do and what we choose to do in our life. And I don't choose to do a lie. So whether my viewership goes down because I'm being blocked or reported or whatever, it is irrelevant. If my voice is not good enough out here in YouTube, okay, you know what? I have started this about since August of last year. Okay, almost a year. I guess about 8-9 months now. I think almost a year now, and I haven't really used all the social media capabilities. Like I can literally go live on TikTok. I can go live on Instagram. I can go live on True Social. I can go live on X. There's so many places that I could go live on, and I will attract patriots, people that really care and love this country. There is a lot of people out there paying money to promote communist, Marxist, socialist agendas. And they're successful. Some of them they really don't have the talent. But others do. It doesn't take a genius to do this show. You just got to have some sort of common sense or a way to put things together. The hard thing to do is to have the wisdom to continue to tell the truth. It's so much easier to lie and become famous in a short time. But that's not the path that we choose to do. And I can tell you this. These people that have flipped a 180-degree turn, they have been pressured. They have been pressured hugely by legacy media, by the leftist outlets who promote exactly what I just said. Marxist, communist, socialist. You guys need to learn by now. Socialist Democrats. That's what that means. That's what socialist, Marxist, communists have created. They now call themselves a one party, a one ideology, a 3-in-1 for sale. 3 for the price of 1. Now they call themselves Socialist Democrats. That is the new title of the Democratic Party today. Thank you, Cutting Edge. Today, the arrest woman, a specialist from Delta team, she was the one leaking the info when the pilots get down, search. Oh, what? Wait a minute. Man, you know, this is the things that I don't want to find out, bro. How pathetic. Now, when you see me, and I say this with all due respect to all the patrons that come to my channel. I love you. I thank you for your service. Thank you for the sacrifices that you've made for yourself, the family, whatever reason you joined the military, whether it was to get papers, whether it was to get an education, whether it was to get money, or to truly be a patriot, to go and defend and fight and represent the United States of America for all of those who believe in freedom and everything else that we have here in the United States of America. Thank you so much for your service. I appreciate that. But in the same manner, there is corrupted soldiers out there. There are traitors amongst us. And I see them. They come in here and they come and tell me, oh, I'm a veteran. Oh, I did this. How dare you insult me and take my... Shut up. Shut up. If you did all the things that you did right now, you just undid all of them. You undid everything that you worked so hard for. It's like you allow yourself to be disavowed, disowned, excommunicado. You choose that. Either you stay and keep fighting and supporting the United States of America first, or you just get out of this country. I saw a Marine in a courtroom going off on ICE, talking shit about this and that because his wife was Palestinian. What kind of BS is that? You can't do that. No, you cannot. It is ludicrous to think that because your wife is Palestinian, you're going to go over there and protest ICE? What the hell is wrong with you? Who does your loyalty belong to? It should always be to this country. It should always be to the United States of America. Always. You have to understand that there's going to be a lot of people in here that they have been brainwashed to hate Trump. I get it. Gullible minds like Keon and SoCal. I'm sorry, Keon, but you're gullible. These guys are the soft men who vote with their feelings. They voted for Kamala, a clear airhead, that the only reason why she advanced in her career was by doing BJs. That was it. That was the highlight of her career. She was the one that effed up everything. I remember when she was debating her own Democrat opponent, Tulsi Gabbard. This is why I think Tulsi Gabbard will be a good president material in due time. She tore Kamala Harris up. She mopped the floor with her in that debate. And the biggest mistake that Biden and the administration did was to choose Kamala over Tulsi Gabbard. But let me tell you why they didn't choose her. They didn't just choose her because they thought that Kamala was better. No, it's because they knew that she was a true patriot to this country. They knew that she was going to tell the truth. See, she didn't move up the ladder by doing BJs and favors. She moved up the ladder by working hard, studying, dedicating herself to her service, to her position. The brains on that woman and the wisdom that she carries. I don't care how you guys, if you guys don't like the way she talks. I know she's very monotone for a lot of things, but she is right. She was right about Obama. She was right about the Russia collusion. She was right about all the things that now are going to become to light in due time. Again, it is not a priority. We're not going to go lashing each other like the crazy-ass people with the Epstein Files theory. We're not going to do the same thing with that. We're not going to do the same thing with the Russia collusion. We already know. It doesn't matter when it gets taken care of. We already know. We got bigger fish to fry. It's a big difference when people just hold on to something to hate, but they don't understand what the hell they're talking about. They don't know where they stand. They don't even know who they are. They don't know who they are. You know what's crazy is that all these Democrats, the Democrat politician, and people that are on the middle class and richer, they go and judge Trump making all these tax cuts and other Republicans making tax cuts and deregulations to give people more money. It doesn't show the state is richer, but the people have a better way of life. People can actually afford rent. For example, California brags about being a rich state. They're a piece of shit when it comes to taking care of people. People can afford their rent. You go to a poor state, people have a big house. They got big lots, big property. Tell me, do you really care that it said that your state is poor when you are the owner of everything that you have? But you go and talk to a rich state, and the only obvious answer that the Democrats can tell you is, oh, well, you can afford paradise, don't live here. Are you kidding me? That's the answer you give me? But they go and judge Trump on cuts to the rich and the billionaires, they say. In the meantime, the biggest hypocrisy is that they don't give a shit about the lower class. They don't care about the hardworking Americans that have those GED jobs. Those who are working full time to make minimum wage. They don't care about those people. The thing is, I do. I have been above middle class. I've had my times where I have made over $1 million. That doesn't make you a better person. I still always believe that the one people that really need help is the poor people. And when I say poor, I'm not talking about the lazy people who depend on welfare when they could be out there working. I'm talking about real American working people that work full time, but because they work full time, they are punished. They are punished, don't get free health care, don't get free food, don't get no assistance because they decided to go work full time. And by making $300 more than the bar, the economical bar that they put to qualify for welfare, they don't get to have a over $1,500 to $2,000 help on their economical life. I know this because I've been there. Man, my wife and I working together. We were falling under, this is a while back, we were falling under $250. Imagine this, $250. And I wouldn't have to pay $650 for the bullshit Obamacare deal. Not only could I not afford the Obama health care deal, but when I couldn't afford it, I was being charged every time that I did my taxes. So F you, dumbass libtards who believe that it's okay to tax the shit out of people and punish people who are working hard. I don't give a shit what your opinion is. If you're making enough money to not feel the dent on the disastrous government of the Democratic Party, you have no opinion in my channel. $250 would have gave us $650 a month in health care that we didn't have to pay, plus $1,200 in food assistance. That's almost $2,000 as if I had another job. The middle class shouldn't worry about it. The middle class shouldn't worry about that. You claim that you're paying all these taxes and that you are want the rich people to get taxed. Okay. But you don't hold your government accountable for anything. You come in here and you tell me that Kamala Harris was a better deal than Trump? Did you forget 22 plus million illegal immigrants because of Kamala's incompetence to secure the border? Because of the lack of guts from the Democratic government to tell terrorists to stay the hell out of the United States of America? Did you forget that Venezuela did this to you because you had no balls to stand against them? When you mocked President Trump when he destroyed those drug boats, what the hell did Democrats do to stop those drug boats? Nothing. Instead, they went on legacy media and they told everybody in the world, because CNN has over 19 million subscribers. They tell all 19 million subscribers that President Trump is giving illegal orders to the military. How about them apples? Don't come at me right now, Keon. You and I talked business before, and I owned you. Nobody fights for the lower class. And that's why you have a lot more homelessness. People who have bought their houses, they're about to get it up to a 9% tax increase on property taxes. This is people that, if you didn't know, if you retire right now with your Social Security, that's fantastic. And you're going to have a certain amount of money to be able to pay your bills. But inflation continues to give up. Taxes are just destroying those people who are on fixed incomes. You can't, in good conscience, tell me that Democrats are doing a good job. The stupidity to say that you're going to vote for Democrats again. How can you even say that, regardless of how you feel about this Iran war? How can you even say that when Democrats have made this country unaffordable? They have allowed an invasion. We are losing hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions, trying to clean up the garbage that the Democratic Party brought into this country. And that is the fact. That is the truth. Nothing to do with President Donald Trump. All of the Democrats, all of them. Because you all run on the same policies. Right now, I am really in a point that I don't even understand why there is people supporting Democrats. You get all worked up because Trump is going to destroy, annihilate a whole civilization, but you don't know what the hell civilization means. That's what's crazy in this world. The things that we see in our country. That is ludicrous. You come in here and say prices of gas is too high. Who cares? You guys are the party of EVs. What happened to electrical vehicles? Weren't you bitching and complaining and whining about gas not being too polluted for the environment? Now, what now is a big deal? I just told you I couldn't afford the Obama health care. And I got punished because I couldn't afford it. The craziest thing. I can't afford to have health care, so I get punished by the Obama administration. Unbelievable. You know, when I did my taxes after President Trump won the first term, they didn't charge me that. That was a few $100s into my pocket, thanks to President Trump. Not thanks to a Democrat. Democrats gave me false promises like immigration reform. Bullshit. Over 3.5 million illegal immigrants of Hispanic descent were deported from this country. He lied to us. So yes, I hold a grudge. I don't forget. President Trump, as evil as you think he might be, is the only man that actually is fighting for the United States of America's well-being. And it could be a very selfish reason because he's doing it because of his grandkids. That's the truth. So I want to know if you don't like what I'm saying, if you disagree with me, why do we got 10 people? Why do we got 10 people on the chat and it's only these hateful Democrats on my chat? What's going on here? I'm serious. Why is there a very low viewership here, but most of the people are not on my side, nor do they support my channel? What's going on with that? I'm gonna have to make a complaint on YouTube, honestly. Bernie Sanders gets millions from the healthcare companies, just like Nancy Pelosi. Oh, man. And he was told by Scott Besson. Oh, Bernie was pissed on that hearing. And I remember watching that hearing. He was pissed. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not the only one. Damn it, this one. And they just start pointing fingers of everybody who was getting money from the healthcare organization, from insurance companies. Hi, Lily. Ain't that crazy? The moment they get caught, all of a sudden, they're pointing fingers at everybody. This is why they say that Democrats are going to eat each other. They're just going to tear up each other apart. All right, do me a favor. We need to get rid of this. I'm sorry, Kian, but you got to go. I think you're destroying my channel. Get rid of all the negativity, bro. Anybody. Just anything negativity, I'll get rid of these first two. You guys are destroying my channel. You're not here to actually have a conversation. You're here just to piss off people that are actually trying to listen on my channel. So thank you for your conversation. You guys can come back another time. With that being said, I have a crazy, and I have over 1,000 views, which is crazy. But we have 1,600 views and 17 likes. That's fantastic. Pizza guy, where you been, man? Republicans and boomers are the Moses generation. We have to wait 40 years for the generation to kick rocks so we can live in peace. Well, Pizza Guy, the one reason why we dislike you is because you said that you don't give a crap about Western civilization, meaning that you don't care about the United States of America, and that's a big no-no, bro. That's a big no-no. That's what I'm fighting against. I'm fighting against people who hate this country, and it sure is. If you don't like the United States of America, you gotta go. It's that simple. You know, sometimes, you know why migrants sometimes they leave their countries? Because they don't like their country, so they come to the United States of America because they believe it's a better country. So why don't you do the same? If you don't like the United States of America, just leave. Go somewhere else. See, those of us who actually love this country would rather stay here and fight for the bettering of our country, not to allow foreigners to tell us what to do and how to live our life. That's the difference. So if you don't like or support the United States of America, well, you got to go. You got to go. It's that simple. And, you know, and I know, Pizza Guy, that a lot of people on your side have told you, hey, don't support that guy, man. He's not sharing your information, or he's not agreeing with you, and that's fine. If you don't value friendships, that's okay with me. That's okay. If I'm gonna call somebody a friend, it has to be a real person. It has to be a person that really wants to be friends, but not somebody that just wants to use you for what they can gain. That's not what we want. We have a good group of people here that have become members, and I appreciate every single one of them. So thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you. Let me go ahead and change gears here a little bit, and let me share here what Gingrich warns what's at stake in war with Iran. This is from Fox Business News. This is for old folks that are smart.
Now, we welcome back to the show. Great pleasure. Newt Gingrich, former House Speaker, Fox News contributor. Newt, welcome as always. And my biases, if you heard the riff, you'll hear my biases. But hear this, too, that we're going to have a 2-week extension for the talks and for the opening up the Strait of Hormuz. This is Iran's game. This is what they always do. You know, we want to postpone. We want extensions. We want ceasefires. We want to have arguments about the location, who sits at the table, all this nonsense. I think the time is to strike right now, Newt Gingrich. Right now, the time is here to strike. What do you think?
Well, I think, first of all, a Pakistani proposal isn't the same as an Iranian proposal. I'd be very surprised if the Iranians agree that they're going to open the straits for the next 2 weeks. That would allow virtually all the ships that are bottled up to get out of there, and would be a huge decline in their leverage. Larry, I think this is simple but very hard. The simplicity is this. You have a dictatorship, religiously motivated, which has now for 47 years chanted death to America, and which has been consistently trying to get missiles and nuclear weapons that could reach America. Now, that's just a fact. On the other hand, if we are not prepared to stop them now, then 10 years from now, if we lose Chicago or Seattle or Boston, and the media says, oh my God, how did this happen? Well, it happened because the Pritzkers and the Schumers and all of the people who kept whining, in fact, blocked the United States from what it should do. The president has to have, I think, two major agreements. One, that the Strait of Hormuz is international water and will never, ever again be blocked by Iran. And two, that the Iranians will give up both their missile program and their nuclear program. If he can't get those two agreements, as a historian, and somebody, I just wrote a piece on Churchill and Hitler. Churchill kept saying for a decade, look at who these people are. And he kept saying, if you don't stop them now, it's going to get a lot worse. So I would say to the president and for the country, we have to insist on an Iran that is not a danger to the American people. And the time to save Chicago or St. Louis or Washington is now, not after we lose a city.
When you look at the conditions set by the United States, and when you look at the response from Iran, they're dealing with two different planets. I mean, I've said that from day one. When it says Iran is willing to negotiate over what? They've already rejected our 15 points, and even if you boil it down to opening up the strait, the enriched uranium, not only do they have to stop, but they have to turn over their stockpile of it. They're not going to do that. They'll never do that peacefully. They're never going to walk across the line and say, here, take this. And the ballistic missiles, I mean, you know, when they fired those two missiles into the Indian Ocean, I know one was intercepted and the other one fizzled out, but nonetheless, that was 2,500 miles or so. That was a shocker. I mean, that's why it's an imminent threat. So I don't understand why we would negotiate, you know, 2 weeks, what does that mean? That's Iran's game, if it's Iran. I mean, I don't know what, you're right about the Pakistani prime minister. Who does he speak for? And I haven't seen the cold print, so I don't know what's in it. But to continue to string along and play along makes no sense at all. He has a chance, Newt, I'll be honest. Trump has a chance to be one of the greatest presidents in American history. He has a chance to do that. And he has to do it through war, okay? Maybe that's regrettable, but that is what, and he has done it. And our military has done it in an alliance with Israel. And this is a historical moment. And I don't want to see it slip away, Newt. That's, I guess, my point. I don't want it to slip away.
You know, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, trying to convince the American people that the Nazis and Adolf Hitler were truly a threat, gave a radio address in September of 1941 and said, if you're standing next to a rattlesnake, you don't have to wait until it bites you to crush it. When somebody says to you for 47 straight years, death to America, when despite bombing and everything else, they insist on building a nuclear program and missiles, as you point out, that now are good enough to reach Europe, when it's clear that they're prepared to kill 46 or 47,000 of their own people in the last 3 months to stay in power. How much evidence do our friends in the media, in the Democratic Party, in the elite establishment, how much more evidence they need? This is a bad regime prepared to do bad things. And what is at stake is American cities. And we need to drive this home. If you want to cave into Iran, then you're either prepared to kowtow and allow the Iranians to dominate, or you're prepared to risk losing city after city. And anybody who is not prepared to be honest about it, you just need to call them out. Because this, I think, Larry, I think you agree with this. I think this is one of the most pivotal moments.
Yes.
Trump has shown enormous courage
Yes.
in getting us to this moment. But now's when it counts.
Yes.
This is Lincoln at Gettysburg. This is the moment when you have to stand firm if, in fact, you want to save the country.
Yes, sir. I don't want this moment to slip away. You are so right, Newt Gingrich.
You know, very few wise men will tell you truth like that. Let me play this clip from Iranian wrestler champion. Don't give CPR to a dying regime.
About to hear from two Iranian Americans who escaped the regime. Sheila Nazarian got out in 1985. She was 6 years old, smuggled in the back of a truck covered in burlap sacks. Sardar Pashayi is a former Iranian national wrestling champion, former head coach of Iran's national wrestling team. His dad was a dissident and a political prisoner in Iran. Sardar says he could not go to his parents' funerals for fear of being arrested if he went back to the country. Sardar Pashayi and Dr. Sheila Nazarian join me now. Wonderful to have both of you with us. Thank you very much for joining us again. Sardar, let me start with you. As you look at Vice President Vance, he's heading to Pakistan with other negotiators this weekend. What is your message for them as someone who understands the country from such a personal level?
Hi, Martha. Thanks for having me. Actually, I saw Vice President before your program saying that deal is possible if Iran doesn't lie or doesn't cheat. But with respect, Mr. Vice President, Iranian regime is going to lie and is going to cheat, and you cannot trust them. Why? Because their regime founded based on hatred and hostility toward Americans and Israeli, and we have been seeing that for the past almost half a century. But the result was just the regime got more aggressive, they took more hostages, and they executed more protesters. So do not give CPR to a dying regime.
Dr. Nazarian, what's your message to the negotiators headed to Pakistan?
I think that there are military goals that we have achieved, but there's also humanitarian goals, Martha, that we have not achieved. They are executing 1 to 2 teenagers, young people in Iran every single day, while we in America are talking about negotiating with terrorists. This regime has to go. There is no regime change, as President Trump, who I adore, has referred to many times. This is not regime change until this regime is gone and the Iranian people are freed from this murderous Islamist regime.
I want to play for you. This is just a resident who spoke to the cameras on the streets in Tehran, and here's what he said.
They were forced to accept these terms because of the resilience our people showed over these 40 nights, so that the blood of our martyrs would not be in vain, and so we could achieve our main goals on the international stage. Now we are recognized as a major power in the world.
Now we are recognized as a major power in the world. Sardar, your reaction to what that man had to say?
You know, a regime is using his propaganda everywhere, and you saw they took all of those children for using as a human shield. They don't care about the people. It's just like pushing this narrative to picture that all Iranian people supporting the regime and also hating America or the Western values. This is not true at all. When I talk to people, as you mentioned, with all of these difficulties, you know, they're buying generators, they're saving water, they are having an extremely difficult situation, which is caused by Iranian regime, but extremely worried that the regime survived. This is really the biggest fear they have. So when they see these military bases, detention centers are being destroyed, they are not sad. When they are seeing these top IRGC members are being killed, they don't mourn them. Actually, they feel that the world is safer. So I hope international community do not forget about the people of Iran.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're making this point. It's so important. You know, we heard from a lot of Democrats, Dr. Nazarian, that they were shocked at President Trump's comments the other day about, you know, the potential for ending a civilization. And then after he, you know, agreed that they'd work on a ceasefire, this was their reaction to that move. Watch this.
Donald Trump just caved, backing down from his fake deadline.
Trump has backed off, and there will be some who will call it, taco. Right? Trump always chickens out, which is making way too light of it, but it is also a truth.
Iran has taken America's and Israel's best punch and is still standing, is still negotiating. The talk of unconditional surrender has been replaced.
They are mocking us right now.
Your reaction to that, Doctor?
I think there's 2 points to be made here. Number one, the Democrats first say, oh, you're going to destroy an entire civilization. And then when that doesn't happen, they say, oh, he didn't destroy the entire civilization, Taco Tuesday. So make up your mind. And then the other point with the language of President Trump, Martha, Iran has been saying death to America and death to our civilization every single day for the last 47 years. So if President Trump wants to speak their language and say, no, you know what, death to you, good for him. He's just speaking in a language that they're going to understand.
Sardar, just about 20 seconds left. Once again, what you want people to understand about how important it is that this doesn't end with this regime in power.
Yes, very important. I think these people have tried many times. They got slaughtered. They deserve to be supported. And I hope, President Trump, I have this message for you. Any point, 10 points, 15 points you have on the table for negotiation, please include humanitarian one. And also those people on the prison death row, you're important. You make a red line for them. Say, don't execute any more prisoners.
Thank you both so much for your bravery. You've been through a lot in your lives, and it's wonderful to have you both here. Sardar Pashayi and Dr. Nazarian, thank you for joining us today.
Be sure to like.
You got to know when to stand down, when to fight, and right now is the time to fight. Let's go to these little protesting.
More about this is Dr. Masa Tehrani, U.S. Advisor to the National Union for Democracy.
This is the same people that are trying to say death to America, and yet here they are, using your weak, naive minds to stay in this country and take advantage of our freedom.
In Iran, she fled Iran as a child, first to Turkey, and then here to the United States. I mean, the double standard here is just, it really is so hypocritical that they're living this lavish Kardashian lifestyle, the niece and grandniece of Qasem Soleimani in California. And meantime, if you're a woman in Iran, your life is totally different.
Exactly, John. This is a prime example of the hypocrisy of the double standard of the Islamic regime. If America is the great Satan, why do you send your offspring and loved ones here? A few years ago, Mahsa Amini, who was that young Persian woman who was detained by the regime's police, and she was beaten to death because a couple of strands of her hair were showing. And then yet you have the same regime officials' children here enjoying what we have in the U.S., our free dress code, our amazing academic institutions, our basic human rights that their counterparts back in Iran, unfortunately, can't enjoy. And what's really concerning to me, John, is that isn't this a national security threat when you have these regime affiliates coming into close contact with our laboratories, our research facilities here, our developing technologies? So I think the Secretary of State is doing a great job honing in on these people. But on the same token, I also want to mention there is a group of Iranian students who are here on visa who did everything right and love America, love American values, and they actually go on to become great contributors to our society. A lot of them have started companies like Uber, like DoorDash, and we shouldn't really be giving them any hardship, but definitely investigating these regime affiliates.
Or some of them robust practices in rheumatology as well, or urology, as your husband does. One of the really hypocritical things about the niece and grandniece of Soleimani, according to DHS, is they came here on a visitor visa in 2015, granted asylum in 2019, granted green cards in 21 and 2023. They came here, though, and they stayed here on an asylum claim, saying, oh, if we go back to Iran, we're going to be persecuted. Yet they went back and forth to Iran several times.
They went back and forth. And aside from that, which is an immigration crime by itself, but the issue is, why are you not condemning their actions, the terrorist regime? They were celebrating the problems that we were having and basically in support of the Islamic Republic. They're propagandists. And the other issue is, these women here enjoying themselves is, again, a huge double standard because women in Iran, John, they're second-class citizens. They cannot freely travel until their husband signs off on something. They can't file for divorce, or if they do, the husband gets custody. They can't sing. They can't dance. They can't go to sporting events. Huge double standard.
You know, imagine if you were dressed, I was showing the pictures just a moment ago. Imagine if you dressed like that in Iran, what would happen to you? I want to ask you this question, because it would appear, at least according to Axios, that Mojtaba Khamenei is alive and well and actually green-lighted these negotiations, which is a suggestion that he is the supreme leader of Iran. And at this point, even though the names have changed in terms of the regime and this idea of a new regime, it's the same old group of, you know, theocratic, as some people would say, lunatics running the place. So what does that mean for the Iranian people, and particularly Iranian women?
Iranian women, Iranian people in general, all over, inside, I hear they're very upset about this ceasefire. John, truly for the 90% of Iranians who are against this regime change to them means end to this theocracy and going into a democratically elected government that is rooted in human rights, in religious freedoms, in gender equality, none of which, unfortunately, these poor people don't have any of this. And until that's achieved, it really is not regime change. And I don't necessarily believe what's coming out of their mouths with regards to negotiations.
So even if they agree to everything that President Trump is demanding that they agree to, if Khamenei is still in charge, is it still the same old Iran?
It is actually, I think it's worse, and I think a lot of people inside fear. Remember this, their judiciary chief yesterday, he put out this AJ, he put out this addendum or announcement exactly yesterday that the innocent protesters from a couple of months ago who rose up in January must, their executions, their hanging must be accelerated. So what does that tell you? There is no regime change until these guys are gone.
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss, right?
Exactly.
Dr. Tirani, great to see you again.
Be sure to.
You know, see, I try to keep up with everything you guys are saying there, and also give you the update of what's going on. But you know, you come in here, and you're, especially those who are coming in here just to put negative comments on there. You guys don't pay attention to what's going on around you. What is the main purpose of your visit? If somebody's showing you a video of something that, you know, that we're trying to understand or have a conversation or get more knowledge on, why are you still typing hateful comments on the chat? If that's what you're doing, you're going to get banned. You're going to get timed out. You're going to go to the corner like a little crybaby. Put something of substance on the chat. Don't just come over here trying to destroy somebody else's channel, because what I want to hear is to be able to have conversation with people. But if your beliefs don't align with my beliefs, if you can't stand what I believe, you don't have to be on my channel. I get that. If you don't stand for America first, you don't have to be on my channel. I get that. But go find a place where you feel comfortable. You can disagree with me, and we can still have fun and make fun of each other, but you cannot just come in here just to shit on somebody else's hustle. Because this, believe it or not, this is work. It's easier for me to say, you know what, I'm just going to go play my video game. I'm just going to go do something else. It's easier for me to do that. I want you to know that. So if you don't appreciate my time, which I think is very valuable, then don't waste my time and go somewhere else. Very simple. It's very simple. So if you don't want to be part of a group of people that want to have a conversation, just because I have a conservative view and I have a religious belief that it doesn't align with yours, then that doesn't mean that you don't have to be here. You know, and I appreciate every single one of you guys who hit that like button and subscribe and, you know, are here on a daily basis with me just talking smack. You know what I'm saying? I like that kind of stuff. But, you know, to hear negative all the time is like, bro, what are you doing here, man? This is definitely not your channel. I'm not going to sit here and argue, because you have to understand something. People want to see me go off because they know that I can go off. And they want me to get like this, you know, this Pentecostal preaching mode, you know, and I'm just, that's really not what it's all about. It's really all about truth and fact. I have seen people that when people throw money at them because they're cursing so bad on their show, they curse even more. And because they know they're getting money, they keep acting a fool, and then just like, they go in this like fake enrage, man, and all this other stuff. And it's just like, they're being literally fueled by money. That's not why I do this. Do I need the support? Absolutely, of course. Nothing is free in life. Of course I need the support. But I don't do it for the money. The money helps to continue to do it, but that's not the goal. The goal is not the money. The goal is to be able to come out and take a look at different things and, try to make sense of things, try to stay informed of what's going on in our country. Because if we don't pay attention to what's going on in our country and what's going on outside of our country, we're going to lose what we have. And I love this country. I love the USA. A lot of people, I don't know why Diaper Dennis is here. He's one of the guys that shouldn't be here. Bye-bye. A lot of people hate this country, and yet this is where they want to live. There is a lot of people that just shit on the street, on the sidewalk. They don't care. But they don't want to leave. They want to do their drugs. And they don't like the law, but they don't want to leave. They like to be criminals. They like to be rebellious. They like to be these freeloaders. They like to be people, they think they're being free by not following the laws. But that's not how it works. Go to a country where they allow you to do all the crap that you want to do if you don't want to follow the law. This ain't a place for you. This is not a place for you. End of civilization. Before you comment anything, because Ed Martinez, I know you're being sarcastic and you're being an ass. Before you continue with the end of civilization, please tell me what civilization means. Let me just give you a hint. It doesn't mean people, moron. A lot of people don't understand that. I don't understand why they don't understand that. But here's some news. Houston is actually cutting down on fraud. Here's Houston police shut down a large-scale fraud operation about a day ago, was given to the news. And this is the kind of stuff that we want to see.
Houston police say that
we want to see something getting done about fraud. It's not just about fraud from Somalis in Minnesota. It's not just Somalis. Everybody committing fraud, they gotta go.
they have shut down a large-scale fraud operation moving stolen luxury cars from California to Houston.
That's right. Fox 26's Leslie Delaspore is live outside of the business in Southwest Houston, where officers say this was happening. So what's going on, Leslie?
Yeah, well, what's going on right now, I want to step out and show you, because if you take a close look, this business is open and it's operating, and they are actually working on cars. Now, HPD says this investigation started with a tip from a financial institution and led them right here to Pure Performance on Windswept Lane. HPD says they found what points to a coordinated scheme, and now one man is facing charges. Houston police say a group of people out of California used fraudulent means to rent or buy high-end vehicles, then moved them to Houston as a part of a larger operation. Investigators say those vehicles were brought to a local business where 35-year-old Talal Obeid filed fraudulent mechanic liens, claiming tens of thousands of dollars in repairs that were never done. Obeid is charged but is currently out on bond. Now, officers say one lien claimed more than $60,000 in repairs on a 2024 Mercedes-Benz, but investigators found no major damage and no evidence of work. Now, the case started when a bank tied to that Mercedes flagged suspicious activity, leading investigators to obtain a search warrant for this business. HPD says they recovered 9 luxury vehicles, including BMWs and Mercedes, valued at more than $800,000, along with about $47,000 in cash.
Well, how a normal mechanic's lien works is, you've wrecked your car, you bring it into a mechanic shop, and he tells you the bill is, he fixes it, you've agreed to pay, and then when you get the bill, for some reason you can't pay, then that mechanic has a right to file a lien against your car, and he can legally get a title and thus own your car, and then he can sell it to recoup his loss. So what was happening here is this group of people, possibly in California, were obtaining these high-end cars fraudulently and then partnering with this particular individual in Houston, or a group of people, we're still, the investigation is still going on, is filing fraudulent mechanic liens, claiming that I have done work on all of these cars. And so, when in fact no work was done at them at all. So they were in the process of attempting to, file a mechanic's lien, thus being able to get a Texas title that I fix his car and then, resell those for a profit.
Now, Obeid has since filed a motion requesting the return of his property, claiming that some of the vehicles he's working on were legitimately being repaired. Now, HPD urges people to protect themselves by using reputable dealerships or mechanics and to do your research. And if you think that you may be a victim, they are asking that you contact them. Now, if you do plan to contact them, that number is 713-398-3500. Again, 713-398-3500. Reporting live in Southwest Houston, Leslie Delaspore, Fox 26.
They've also raised the reward. They increased the reward in the Garland murder suspect. Man, I don't know. It's just Fox gives me all the news.
There is a new reward for the suspect.
What can I say? Fox gives me all the news. See, the reason why I listen to Fox is because they are concerned on a lot of different topics, and they're all over the place giving us a lot of news. Do I think that they're always going to be perfect? Of course not even close. But I will tell you that everything that I see in CNN is always about Trump and the administration. I don't see anything about fraud, about any schemes. I don't see anything about arrest. It just doesn't show up for me. It's always about Trump and the administration. There's nothing against Democrats. Nothing. Not one thing. They don't even talk bad about Gavin Newsom. They don't even talk about his wife trying to teach her children a lesson in life, in hate and prejudice and racism, that she takes them to the South, to the southern states, so that they can learn that, she says. That's one of the most racist things that I have heard in a very long time. And Gavin Newsom's wife is the one that says it. But nobody, CNN doesn't talk about it. They just put it under the rug. They just sweep it under the rug. That's what they do. And Fox, I give you, the news about the Trump's administration. They talk about the Democrats. They talk about thieves. They talk about, some elections, and they do the like. You get the news from all over the place. And I'm not advertising for Fox, but I have to mention them because a lot of people from the left side, oh, look at him. He gets all the information from Fox. No wonder he thinks that way. Yes, Fox actually gives you world and nationwide news about everything, shootings, events, lives, etc., etc. If I go to Fox and I know that there is a live feed about Trump's press conference, you go to CNN, it doesn't exist. If you go to Karen Levitt, CNN, it doesn't exist. You go to look for live information from CNN, nothing. I am subscribed to CNN, and I get nothing beneficial. The only time that I get a something funny or good out of CNN is when Scott Jennings is in there, and I forget the black Republican that shows up in there. Why is it that Republicans sound like they have common sense and Democrats just want to hate Trump? I wish that they would stop hating Trump and just tell me, how are you fixing this country? Tell me, I don't care how much you hate Trump. I want you to teach me. I want to learn. How are you giving me something better than what Trump is doing? That's what I want to hear. I don't want you to tell me that Trump is to blame because he's not putting taxes on me. He's not putting regulations on the business. He is not unconstitutionally putting taxes on our income. He's not unconstitutional putting luxury taxes. That's not Trump. That's my local government doing that shit to me. If it wasn't for Trump, gas would be at $8 right now here in Washington State. If it was for Trump, my gas would be at $3.56 today. Instead, it's at $5.05 to $5.49. That is the local government that gives me the high price. The grocery stores got to raise the price because gas goes up, regulation charges are there, you got a payroll tax, and then you got taxes, excise tax, you got a produce tax, you got all these other taxes put on the business that the grocery stores cannot afford to give you a good price. They have allowed illegal immigration. That's a big problem. But unaffordability is a Democratic problem. No matter which way and how you slice it. and dice it. It is a Democratic problem, and it's not because I'm a Trumpster. Has nothing to do with that. I stand here as one of the real Democrats, not the socialist Democrats. You guys know what socialist Democrats means, right? That is the new 3-in-1 ideology. Marxist, communist, socialist. When you hear the word socialist Democrat, that's who they are. I stand here as a real Democrat. President Trump is a Republican. He's a real Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard, Robert, everybody else in that administration, those are the real Democrats because the policies are made for the United States of America first. The socialist Democrats want to bring back racism into this country. So now the blue color is racist again. When you talk to Democrats who vote for this nonsense, they always tell you, oh yeah, we want immigration reform, but what happens? Who's going to pick the cotton? Who's gonna pick the vegetables at the farms? Who's gonna be our landscaper? That's how they think. F that. In my Hispanic community, it's not just janitorial work. It's not just landscaping, which actually landscape actually pays pretty good money. But there is more educated Hispanics, or at least I want to believe that there is more educated Hispanics than what we call analfabetos, illiterate Hispanics, that all they know how to do is labor. They are just laborers. And they come over here, and a lot of dweebs out there, they think that migrants built this country and the greatness. No, they didn't. Settlers did. Migrants came here for money. They came here for money. You got all these laborers in construction. They don't know shit how to build a house. But the architect, the contractor that hires them, they hires the plumbers, they hire the tapers, the framers, the people that put the sheetrock, the roofers, the electricians. Those are skills that are put together by a builder. They get paid for a labor, for a service. They are not building or making this nation greater. They're just here for their money. You understand? They're here for their money. Who pays? Who pays this country? Not the laborers. They pay a few taxes and they probably get that money back anyway. You know who pays? The builders. The people that actually build are the ones that invest, get the money, and they construct. And they hire labor. So let's not get it twisted. Let's not get it twisted. Migrants, in a way, at some point, migrants, the settlers, those migrants, those settlers that migrated here, yes, they built this country. But migrants that come here for work, they don't build. They provide a service and they get paid for that. That could be a good or a bad thing. If they come here legally, fantastic. If they come here illegally, the labor gets cheaper. Do more jobs get done cheaper? Of course. But that's not the country that we live in. You should be able to plan to pay a good wage to American workers. Stop bringing back slavery. Let me tell you something. When the Democrats flipped about 30, 40 years ago, it was a good thing. But now they flip back. They just can't help themselves. The corruption, it's still there. They are still raising the next generation to be a victim, to be racist, to be hateful, to be communist, to want everything handed to them. They think that the government can just say, here, all the money, free for you, everybody. Here's a car for you, here's a car for you, another car for you, everybody gets a car. That's not how it works. This ain't no damn Oprah Winfield show. That's not how it works. Man, Janice, how are you, Janice? It's been a while. I see you. All right, Fox News, here we go.
To is the focus of this week's trackdown. The FBI is adding $50,000, making the reward for Abel Acosta $70,000. He was 14 4 years ago when he shot 4 teenagers, killing 3 of them with the help of his father. The FBI released this age progression photo to show what Acosta, now 18 years old, might look like today. Fox 4's Sean Rabb with the detective who has lived with this case since December 26, 2021.
This is Garland Police Detective Lucas Shoup, and detective, for 4 years and 4 months now you've lived this case. Tell me your frustration with it.
Well, the biggest thing is that we all have to account for is, how does a kid who's 14 years of age who commits such a heinous crime still not in custody? So that's obviously the frustrating part.
Go back to December 2021. What happened here?
So we are actually pretty much standing exactly where the pickup truck driven by Abel's father, Richard, who we all know has already had his trial.
Richard Acosta was sentenced to life in prison without parole, convicted on 3 counts of capital murder for driving his son to what was a Texaco gas station. When they were first caught on tape, detective says Abel Acosta, then 14, was in the front seat in distinctive clothing, no hat, no mask.
And the truck backs up and actually circles around those fuel pumps behind us, goes around to the end of the parking lot, it comes back over here and stops, which is when Abel exits out the passenger side of that pickup truck. Now he has a baseball hat on, he has a mask on, and he comes up and he approaches this door and he makes entry inside and he starts shooting.
And he kills 3 people.
He kills 3 people.
14-year-old Xavier Gonzalez, 16-year-old Ivan Loyola, and 17-year-old Rafael Garcia, defenseless, shot to death. A 4th teen also shot, but survived.
Abel did have some issues with at least 2 of our victims. Not a family relationship, but certainly, kid issues. Maybe there's a connection to gangs, whatnot. But there's definitely 2 of the victims were his intended target.
Okay, and today we have a picture of him, show what he might look like now at age 18.
Because, all right, here's a 14-year-old kid, and for the longest time, that's what people envision that they're looking for. And we know, just like anyone who has kids, a boy who goes from 14 to 18, he's going to change a lot. So we finally haven't been able to get that age progression photo.
What tips, if any, have you gotten, and how long has it been since you had a tip?
We actually had a tip just last month.
Tips that Acosta is close by to he's crossed the border.
But that's some of the frustration, some of the hurdles we have to overcome. We may have a location, but it may be a city with 600,000 people in Mexico. And where do we go from there?
Detective hoping the new reward will be the tipping point.
So the FBI has their information. It's been out there. It's been released. The Garland Crime Stoppers is out there. And, of course, my information, you can call the police department, and they will get you to me as well.
Where is Abel Acosta? Get at the FBI, get at Garland Crime Stoppers, get at Garland Police. Help close this case. Help find Abel Acosta.
We're getting all kinds of information here. Endeavor, you better be nice in here. I don't know who you are. Let's see. Steve Jobs. Get it. We all work for someone. Absolutely. Janet says, have had a busy week so far. Hope that you're all doing great. Yep, Janice, it's good to see you here, Mama. Good to see you. Here is a
all right, you may want to look up on
a candidate that went for president and did not make it at all. I didn't feel he was president material, to be honest. But I really believe that he should have gone for a different position. And, very unfortunate, but I want to hear what he has to say about this. He is talking about the Democratic Party being socialist, and this is what I've been talking about myself. And it's like I said, I am a real Democrat, not a fake socialist Democrat. And there's a big difference on that. I believe that there is real Republicans. Listen to me. I want you to understand something. There is a Republican Party and there is a Democratic Party. I don't care what the history is from both parties from the beginning of time at their party. These 2 parties were created to fight for the best interest of the United States of America. At some point, the Republicans decided to be damn stupid about their decisions, and maybe not because they were evil, but because of the mistakes that they made. The Democratic picked up. But the Democratic Party took a stand to be for the American people. And so we had a party that they were fighting each other to see who would best fit to help the country. At some point in early 2000s, the Democratic Party decided to go with this great idea of becoming a globalist party. And they made this country a globalist party, which in return, they got rid of car manufacturers. They got a lot of factories. They got a lot of businesses out of this country, and they put them all in China and India and other little small countries like Vietnam and Thailand, etc., and so that they can make a big profit off of cheap labor. This is a slavery mentality that the Democrats have had from the beginning of the United States of America. And this is something that we have been fighting for a long time. And I said, you know what? That's the wrong path. That's the wrong path. And that's how it goes. And so now they've gotten to the point where they're so extreme now. I can literally put videos of themselves today and like 20 years ago, and they fight themselves. Their ideologies, the ideas to help Americans, it's gone. The idea of helping Americans doesn't exist with the Democratic Party. All that is left is let's use American suffering so that we can get what we want. That's all the Democratic Party is doing right now. And we hear of hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in fraud and schemes and all this other stuff in California, in Oregon, here in Washington State. We see in some in Utah. We saw Minnesota. We see other states doing the same thing. New York. We're losing it. So we got to pay attention. So I can tell you, if a Republican goes against the United States of America, I'm going to call them out as well. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able. I wish that we had a third party, but money talks. I reached out to the Democratic Party. I reached out to the Republican Party. Neither one of these party committees cares that I want the best for Washington State. They don't care. They don't care where your heart is. They don't care if you're the best candidate. They don't care if you are the right voice for the people. They don't care if you bleed for the people. All they know is money. Why lobbyists? That's why. Money talks. It is a big problem in America. And while I am very happy that President Trump is doing what he needs to do, all of these things, I am very happy that these things are happening. But let's be honest. Democrats fought so hard against DOGE. And what did we find? USAID was funding the full economy. Think about this. The full economy of Somalia. Somalia's economy is about $12 billion. We gave them more than that. The moment DOGE, the Republican administration, came into place and put a stop to USAID, the economy in Somalia just dropped. Dropped. And I don't mean like a song. Drop. No, it just dropped. Non-existent. We got a lot of people confessing today, going to jail for frauds, schemes, scams. And it's not Somalis. It's all people. But Somalis are the ones that started this because Nick Shirley went out there and started being nosy as a journalist should be. And what does CNN do? Instead of saying, wait a minute, what the hell is this guy doing? Let's go take a look. No, they made fun of him. They called him a right-wing YouTuber. Why does it got to be like that? You see what I'm saying? That's a problem that I have. That's the problem. Why didn't they go and say, wait a minute, hey, Nick, so what's going on? What did you find? I mean, we didn't think about coming here, but, man, good job. What did you get? No. What makes you think that this is happening? We know better than you. How are you right and we're wrong? hateful. The way that they promote the news out there has not changed. They are still a socialist Democrat legacy media. CNN is still garbage. I don't know how to get this point across, but here is the problem that I have with legacy media. If they don't make something, deadly, horrible, bad news, the ratings go down. And so they tend to go into this mode of, let's just lie to the people, because the lie seems more sinister. Attacking Trump seems more delightful because people disagree with it. Let me give you something. Fox News has about 14 million subscribers. CNN has about 19-something million subscribers. CNN is always lying, giving you negative news about Trump. 24/7, Trump. Fox has channels, has shows that talks about things that Trump is doing good, things that are happening in other countries. We are just covering here fraud in Houston. We cover fraud in California. And we're not just talking about Democrats. We're talking about fraudsters, scammers. And all we want is for the Democrat governors and mayors to just hold them accountable. That's all we want. So it's not that they are doing it themselves. It's that they're letting it happen. And this is just me giving them a break, giving them the benefit of doubt that they are not involved in this. But that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. And so they are responsible in the end because they don't want to confront it. So there you go. That's where I stand, and that's where I'm at. If I can tell you right now, and you know, and I should probably test this theory, and I would just say in advance, I would apologize to all my patriot, American patriots, all my 18,000 subscribers if they ever come here at the same time. You know what? I would apologize to all of you. But one day, I just want to do maybe 1, 2, or maybe 3 days in a row of talking shit about Trump and just promoting Democratic propaganda. Watch my channel grow. Because I feel that I am better than the libtards that have this podcast always hating Trump, always hating MAGA, always hating the United States of America, always hating our troops, always putting negativity on the minds of our warriors, always putting down the capabilities of real men and real women in our military. Always put everything, always betting against America. They call the president a liar. They call Republicans a liar. They call MAGA liars. They call all of us that don't stand with Democrat policies liars. But then they go and say, oh, Khamenei is still alive. He just said this. And they believe it. They show a video where somebody's ass is on the wrong side of the body, and they call that a real video. They show somebody disappearing on the side of a truck during a chase, but all of a sudden, that is real. There was somebody waving with 6 fingers, and that was real. CNN put all those fake-ass news out there because that's what sells. They don't think, they want to be the first ones to give you the news. I get that. But how about you be the first one to give the news right? Fight it. Do the research. You know what's amazing? And I'm a nobody in this channel. I'm a nobody in this channel. I get it. But you know what's funny? I come in here and I give you guys the information and I tell you why President Trump is doing this, this, and that. And the next day or a few days later, you got Fox telling you that. How is it that a regular guy like me can give you news in front of the actual news channel? Isn't that crazy? You know what I call that? Common sense, critical thinking. Think about what's going on. Am I an expert in economics? No. But I know that taxing the shit out of me and businesses is putting unaffordability on the table. Do I know about produce? Hell no, I don't know anything about produce. But I do know when the produce is expensive. Do I know anything about selling gas? Hell no, but I know that I don't like to pay high taxes. Do I know anything about electrical vehicles? No, but hell no, I don't want to get an electrical vehicle if I don't want to. I'm not a politician, but I do know that I am an American citizen, and I know what I like and what I suffer, what I see that is good, what I see that is bad. When the government is taking advantage of the poorly educated, you got to be able to think for yourselves. You know, here we are. Sometimes we're watching videos, and sometimes I'm talking to you, and the chat just goes crazy from crazy leftist minds. They don't listen. They hear something, and they go off on that. They don't try to critical think. They don't like to rationalize things. Sometimes you have to rationalize. Put a little bit here. Okay, what is this about? Okay, well, let me try to understand this because this right here is being said here. Well, let's put it in the middle. What's the truth? How do you distinguish what the truth is? Well, who's been lying to me? Who's for America? Who's for the citizens? All Democrats on the State of the Union speech addressing. All Democrats. If you believe that the government is supposed to put American citizens over illegal immigrants, please stand up. All of the Democrats did not want to stand up. Listen to me. They knew it was the right thing to do. They knew it. But because Trump said it, they didn't. Just like those stupid-ass white liberal socialist women. And if you don't like my name calling, this ain't the channel for you. Trump says after we found out that Tylenol, you're not supposed to take those pills when you're pregnant. This is for your safety. As a matter of fact, Tylenol recommended before Robert Jr. came in, and Tylenol recommended if you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. And if you do, let it be with the doctor's prescription or referral to say, okay, here, we're going to give you this, all right? But only as you need it. You know why? Because the doctor knows what needs to happen. And that if something goes wrong, they know where you are at with your physical body and health. So what do these people do? They go make YouTube videos, TikTok and Instagram and all this stuff, and they're out there just pouring Tylenol pills on them, poisoning themselves and their baby and their bellies. The titty ass craziness, it just doesn't go away. And what I'm saying is stop hating Trump. That is a bull crap. It's a lie that you've been fed to so that to sort of distract you from the truth. And what is the truth? That socialist Democrats are communist Marxists who want to destroy this country. The rich will get richer and the poorer will get poorer. The middle class is going to disappear. Unless you start paying attention and start listening to the truth. The best advice I can give you is think for yourselves. Think for yourselves. Listen, empty your glass. Empty your glass and look at the policies. Go directly to the policies. Where you stand on the left, where you stand on the right. I'm going to tell you this. About 10% maybe 10% of the people are going to go with immoral actions, godless actions. And then everybody else will just follow because of their loyalty to a party, which Senator Fetterman said, my loyalty comes to my country first, party second. And that's where I'm at. That's my kind of guy. And that's where all of us should be. So I don't support Democrat or a Republican Party because they don't give a shit about the heart of a real American citizen who wants to fight for the people. They care about candidates that have money. It is that simple. Take a pause. Go ahead, Sean. What you got?
Sky and see if pigs are flying because the Democrats are now talking about lowering taxes. Of course, there's a catch. According to Axios, every single Democratic tax cut proposal that is bundled with a slew of new tax hikes. In other words, that would be called smoke and mirrors. Meanwhile, Democrats are about as unpopular as ever. Take a look.
Take a look at this. This is a trend line going back through the years, midterm elections in which there's a GOP president. Look at this. In 2006, Dems' net approval of congressional Democratic leaders was plus 28. You go back to the last midterm, look at that, plus 19. Very much on the positive side. The bottom has fallen out. The bottom has fallen out. Minus 4 points. That is Democrats. Democrats' own net approval of their own congressional leaders. Even Democrats don't like their own leaders when it comes to Congress.
Now, don't forget, quote, moderate Democrats are a thing of the past. For example, Abigail Spanberger was elected governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia by a wide margin in November, but she's governed so far to the left, her approval rating is plummeting. You just can't trust any Democrat once they're in office. They're all the same. Anyway, here with reaction, the host of Making Money on Fox Business, our friend Charles Payne, another friend, Republican candidate for governor of the great state of Ohio, the Buckeye State, Vivek Ramaswamy. All right, Charles, on the economic...
Rami will be perfect for that position. I think he would do a fantastic job. I really support him on that.
Front, it's amazing. They want to talk a big game. But didn't they vote for the largest tax increase in history while voting against the largest tax cut in history?
Yeah, you have a pretty good memory. You know, this thing is crazy. What I'm loving is watching from the sidelines, and what they're calling one of the biggest Democrat civil wars has broken out over this, right? They've got the wonks, the policy wonks. Some are calling it slopulism instead of populism. And it's just wonderful to see. Let's face it. The Dems never got over when Donald Trump pulled out no tax on tips. That was like the ultimate checkmate. And they've never gotten over it. And there's some who, all of these folks, by the way, want to run for president. Look at all the names that are pushing this. They think they can be commander-in-chief. And they have no fresh ideas. And, of course, the Dems who have been there for a long time who believe in, hey, big government, big government, big government, are actually pushing back. And it's just a complete disarray.
Yeah, Vivek, you know, this is the challenge for every Republican like yourself that's running for office is Democrats will talk a big game. They will follow Abigail Spanberger. And all the things she's now implementing in Virginia, those are not things that she ran on. That is not what she communicated to the people in the Commonwealth of Virginia. If she did, I don't think she would have won.
And the other thing that I'm going to point out is that right now, in California, we listen to the debate of the Democrats with the Republican, with the two Republican candidates, and every single Democrat right now in California, every single Democrat agrees without telling us that we were right about the overregulation, that we are right about the overtaxation. We are right about all the things that make everything unaffordable in California for most of the people that are the hardworking people over there. That's what they're campaigning on. That's what they're running on the things that we know are true. But once they get in office, they do the opposite. That's the thing that gets to me. Like, I don't understand how you cannot see that. You know what I mean? It's like it's all there. She ran on the same things that the Democrats are running on right now and all over the country. And everybody, all these Democrats and all these loonies are so excited about the Democrats taking the midterms. Oh, we're going to impeach President Trump and Trump and Trump and Trump and Trump. And they forgot about crack addicts, drug addictions, alcoholics, homeless, about the child abusers, about the rapists, the murderers, all the crime in the cities of all blue cities and states. They forgot about Chicago, hundreds of deaths already this year. They forget about all the gangs and crimes throughout the whole United States of America. But they're going to get Trump. They're going to get Trump. Trump, 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 Trump. Why don't you do something for your damn city and shut the hell up about Trump? Why don't you show me that you're a real American and that you care about these people and start doing your job here domestically? And stop blaming and bitching and complaining about President Trump and with these Iran attacks that we have. And why don't you hold your government and your mayor responsible and accountable for all the bad shit that happens in your city, in your county, in your state? How about we start doing that? Stop blaming the president for all the unfortunate things that we have to go through because he is responsible for the country, but every other governor and mayor is responsible for their states. Every time Trump tries to clean something up, they make him look like a racist, a Nazi, the Gestapo, all the stupidity that they put on the left as an excuse to continue criminal activities, allowing millions of illegal immigrants to be in here. We got over 10,000 criminal people that were on the terrorist watch list. Gone. Even if the Democrats didn't want us to do it, we still did it. And doggone it, we're going to continue to do it. That's why I will vote for President Trump over and over and over again, because he is the only president that has had the guts to go do what we're doing right now in Iran. And so what if we are paying the price for gas? I'm being affected by it. So what? I know the president is doing what he needs to do. I know all the presidents wanted to do it, and all they did was talk, but they never walked the walk. So, of course, I'm going to support President Trump.
So look, it's the same story as Joe Biden in his 4 years of his presidency as well. Ran as a moderate, pretending to be normal, governed in a very different way. And I see this dynamic on the ground here in Ohio, Sean. You look at the person who I'm running against, it was the COVID czar who shut down the public schools in Ohio. But this is somebody who recently just proposed a $20+ billion hole in Ohio's budget. And the reality for the Democratic Party is you could have imagined a version of the Democrat Party that said they're going to move towards economic growth, that they're going to embrace capitalism once again and offer a slightly different policy vision. That's not the direction they've gone. The candidates they're putting up are consistently now favoring, if not in their campaigns, when they're in office, a new socialist vision for the country, one that believes the government is actually the one that creates value in the economy rather than the private sector. And I think it's up to us, to Republicans, to stay true to the time-tested principles of economic growth, success, free market capitalism, and by the way, lower costs, bigger paychecks, better schools. That isn't a particularly right-wing or left-wing issue. Those are issues that actually unite all of us. And so for Republicans this year, if we run and govern on those messages, lower those costs by spending less government money, put more money back in your pocket through tax cuts, through sensible energy reforms that bring down your electric bills and improve our schools while we're at it, Sean, I think we're going to be able to exceed expectations this year in a way that brings along a lot of those independents once again this November.
And that's why we need Republicans, real, not the fake ones, real Republicans that are in alignment with President Trump's initiatives, because when we say that we're going to lower energy costs, we meant it, but Democrats have been fighting every step of the way, tooth and nail, to avoid that from happening. Why? Because they don't want Trump to get credit for anything. He goes out there and brokers 8 wars to end, and they deny it till this day. What wars? What wars? You haven't stopped anything. They haven't stopped any. Well, you haven't done shit yourself either. But there we have it. You got your truth, we got our truth. We need more people like this guy right here, like Swami, to do what he needs to do and align himself with the president. Just like the Republican is going to do in California, and watch California thrive. After Newsom is out of there, I hope that there is a lot of audits and investigations, because I can tell you this, if God allows me in 2 years to put my name on the ballot on May, I will run for governor, and if I win, that is exactly what's going to happen. I am going to align myself with J.D. Vance as the president, or maybe Marco Rubio. We don't know the future on that. But I will align myself with them, and I want audits. I want DOJ. I want DOJ. I want everybody involved. I want to get a kick-ass, badass attorney general who fights for the people. I want to have somebody that actually wants to fight for the American people and not for illegal immigrants. We're going to do a lot of audits. We're going to do a lot of transparencies, and believe me, they're going to fight me and they're going to hate me. But even if I have to go as an independent, I will fight alone. And even if I get 20 votes and everybody else gets hundreds of thousands and millions of votes, I don't care. I am going to go out there and continue to preach the truth to everybody out there.
I think that's the thing. And we're not at the point. You know, Charles, there's a lot of runway between now and November in terms of this economy. Right. You know, kicking in all the policies that the president has put in place, all the foundational pieces he's put together. Granted, we have a blip with energy prices, but this could be all over tomorrow.
Yeah, December was the absolute bottom in terms of consumer sentiment, some of these other economic numbers. The big, beautiful bill and everything else kicked in perfectly. January's data, February's data, and even early March data. The manufacturing boom is here. It's undeniable. Wall Street remains bullish. You know, last year when we had the tariff situation, every firm on Wall Street lowered their target for the stock market, every single one. I haven't seen one do that this year. The powerful tailwinds from the big, beautiful bill, along with the economic momentum we've had, and to your point, this situation in Iran being a blip will resume. Wall Street knows that. In fact, I saw a couple of firms hike their targets. So everyone thinks that we're going to have the strong momentum going into the midterm elections. There was already evidence of it, and I think it should pick back up.
And manufacturing accelerated to its fastest pace, Vivek, in 4 years.
Bring it back.
That is the, however many trillions in committed investment money the president brought in. That's not even made it to the economic bloodstream yet.
Look, I think there's also even added trends that I'd point out, Sean. The trend towards advanced manufacturing, embracing the toolkit of the future rather than rejecting it. And I think it's actually going to be the enhancement in productivity as we enter the AI era, as we enter advanced manufacturing, that we're going to see an American revival of a kind that we deserve to see and are going to lift up the people of this country economically. That's what we're running on as Republicans, and I'm confident we're going to deliver.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. And that's what I'm talking about. When President Trump, I'm going to tell you something. When President Trump said that he was going to bring back America, he's doing it. We got manufacturers already working ahead of time. They are getting all the constructions done. They are going to be finishing all these projects, and they're going to be hiring hundreds of thousands of new employees into these factories, data centers, etc. We have to be able to give them a break. We got to be able to give him some room to work. We can't just be condemning him right from the start, because you gotta, I'm telling you, you gotta look at your government. Listen, you have to stop listening about this Trump just for a little bit, and then you can come back to it. Forget about Trump and start looking into your local government. What are they doing? Whether Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. What are they doing? How has prices been affected because of your local taxes, because of the regulations? Go find out what regulations there are for gas, what regulations there are for farming, what regulations are there for conducting a grocery store business. Go find out and see how much money that takes away from your pockets. We stand with you in your goals and ideals. Thank you, Steve. I know, brother. I'm so glad that you're here, man. It's like I have this little twin little brother somehow. You understand how I act and why I feel the way that I feel. But California is working on an exit tax. This is what communists want to do in New York. Their exit tax. It's California, it's New York, and any other, even Washington State is thinking about doing an exit tax. Here's the national desk with some information on this. Let's take a listen.
A growing number of blue states are exploring an exit tax or wealth tax in order to combat revenue losses from residents fleeing to lower tax areas. At least 10 have recently explored proposals, including California, Michigan, and Washington State. The National News Desk, Jeff Herrera, is joining us, and we know it's not just notable high net worth people, Jeff, that are leaving these tax states, but also businesses like Chevron and Uber. Tell us more.
So major corporations, financial firms, and also people continue to relocate their headquarters or operations from high-tax states like California and New York to more business-friendly areas like Texas and Florida. The move's coming as more blue states explore these wealth and also exit taxes. Across the country, at least 10 states are now exploring or have already passed an exit or wealth tax in order to combat revenue losses from residents fleeing to lower tax areas. That includes California, New York, and Michigan.
Tally up the value of your home, your cars, your furniture, your assets, your stocks, your bonds, your art. and there is a tax on that value.
Sandra Swirsky, founder of Integer, a government relations and advocacy firm, tells the National News Desk, among the most prominent, California's proposed Billionaire Tax Act, which would impose a one-time 5% tax on the total net worth of anyone worth over $1 billion living in the state, impacting at least 200 people.
The value of these assets, of your net worth, in some cases is very easy to calculate, stocks and bonds and the like. In other cases, it's really difficult to calculate.
Also,
stocks and bonds and property and all these things that give you a value of wealth is not cash. It's unconstitutional to tax these things, and yet they get away with it. Do you understand that logic? Only Democrats came up with this. They don't have $1 billion in cash. They are worth $1 billion. And they want to make them pay 5% more because of the wealth that they have acquired with assets, stocks, etc. They can't tax that until they actually sell it. You can't tax. You can't stack just assets. You just can't tax that. It is ridiculous. Why doesn't that, make some sort of a question on the Democratic mind and anybody else who supports increasing taxes to raise money? I just don't understand the logic of people.
Washington State, who just passed a 9.9% tax on incomes over $1 million. Yep. The bill's passage coming around the same time, Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, who has an estimated net worth of over $3 billion, announced his move to Florida.
Not just move himself down to Florida, but he's moving his entire company, Starbucks, out of the state of Washington. That's huge.
JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon taking a swing at New York City officials this week, saying high taxes are causing a surge of businesses to leave the Big Apple. Quote, "The truth is that while New York City has much going for, particularly for financial companies, it also has the highest city and state corporate taxes and the highest individual income and state taxes." Thoughts Dimon echoed about a week ago.
All you have to do is look at California versus Nevada. New York versus Florida, and there's a huge exodus taking place.
Meanwhile, New York Governor Kathy Hochul acknowledging that the state's tax base has been heavily impacted by an exodus to low-tax states, urging wealthier residents to come back.
I need people who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state. But maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home, because our tax base has been eroded.
Now, according to the most recent IRS service data from 2022 to 2023, due to migration from blue to red states, California lost just under $12 billion and New York $9.9 billion, while Florida.
Do you understand what's happening right here? Let me go back a little bit. California lost money. A lot of Democrats in California, they brag about having the largest economy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to tell you the biggest lie that they have told Californians is that only those who can afford to live in paradise can live there. But that's not the reality of things. The reality of things is that California is part of the United States of America, and anybody that works hard should be able to afford to live in California. But you get real estate sharks out there that talk about the $1 million view. They talk about the trees and the mountain, and they're in the safe zone and all this stuff, and they overprice the property. Yeah, easy for the millionaires, easy for the billionaires to get those houses. All the actors and actresses in Hollywood that make hundreds of millions of dollars, they get to have that luxury. But the hardworking Americans, they don't get to choose where they live. They just, steer them to the poor neighborhoods and say, hey, I can afford a house right here. Oh, yeah, the neighbor just died last week, but now the house is on sale and it's affordable. How about that? Gang-infested towns and cities are the only things that hardworking Americans can afford. Only the rich. It's just crazy how many millionaires and billionaires Democrats have with them. that pay them. They're lobbyists to the Democrats. We have Soros. We got over almost 500 different companies that have acquired over $3 billion that they are spending on protest and advertising propaganda against Trump. $3 billion. We can feed how many people with that? That's the Democrats' favorite line against Trump. Look at that. California loses $11.9 billion. This is just between 22 and 23. We haven't even seen all the 25 and 26. Florida gains $20.6 billion. New York loses $10 billion. Texas gets $5.5. Illinois loses $6 billion. South Carolina gains $4 billion. And let me add to this. Alabama. Let's go. Let me see Alabama. I think it was Alabama. Let me see. Let me see if I can find this real quick. You have to understand something, that businesses are going to go where they can make the most money, not where they're going to be punished the most. And we have to be understanding of that. You can say, oh, these people are making billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, and somebody just sued Meta. Meta just lost $20 billion, 60, what was it, 20, 40, or $60 billion. Boom, one hit. Because some lady was addicted to social media. The stupidity of the people. But hey, they won. The stock market went down on Meta. And Meta just made a commitment to invest in jobs in the United States of America. And these companies are being hurt. Liberal judges are taking over the judicial branch. And when you have liberal judges, crime goes unpunished. And that's a fact. That's crazy, right? Whew, man. Been working overtime over here, almost sweating like a pig. What I can tell you guys is I appreciate every single one of you guys here today. I want to thank you so much for being here with me. My wife needs some rest, and she wants her husband with her. So I got to stop, but I will see you guys tomorrow. Hey, thank you guys for the likes. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you for the super chats. I can't have this show without your support. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Love you all. I pray that God blesses you. God blesses your family. That God blesses the United States of America. And that we become successful and victorious in all our endeavors towards peace. God bless you all. I'll see you in the next one.